Welcome, everyone, to the 43rd discussion of the smart world around us, brought to you by Smart-EDU Hub. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really important topic, looking at an article by Andrea Maria Tirțiu and Catalin Vraibi, that's pronounced Catalin Vraibi. The article is titled Living Labs Instruments of Social Innovation in Rural Areas. And it tackles a huge issue, the digital gap in places where, well, nearly half the population lives rurally.
That's right. And the scale of this gap, particularly in the Romanian context they studied, is quite staggering.
It really is. They looked at almost 2,700 communes, these are the smallest local administrative areas, and found a digital divide in, wait for it, 100% of them.
100%. Yeah, not just a few pockets, but everywhere they looked. It makes you realize this isn't just about slow internet speeds. It's much deeper.
Exactly. It's systemic. So that brings us to the core ideas in the article, social innovation and these things called living labs. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. So social innovation, it's basically about using new ideas, new approaches to tackle persistent social challenges. Think things like, an aging population or maybe improving education.
Making new solutions for social problems.
Yeah.
And living labs, are they actual labs?
Well, not in the white coat sense. Think of them more as real-world environments. They're user-centered open spaces, often virtual or community-based, where citizens actually get involved in co-creating solutions, usually using ICT, information, and communication tech.
So people power, essentially, using tech.
Precisely. It flips the script from top-down decisions to more of a collaborative bottom-up thing. And related to this are policy labs.
Policy labs, how do they fit in?
They're similar, but usually linked directly to public authorities. They use that same user-centered design thinking to innovate policy itself. The European Policy Lab is a big example.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting, right? Because the article points out something about Romania's position in this European context.
Yeah, it's quite revealing. If you look at the map of these policy labs across Europe, sort of like the one referenced in their figure 1, there's a noticeable absence where Romania is.
An absence. But weren't they involved before?
They were part of the European network of Living Labs, ENoLL, in the past. But currently, the article states, there's no active involvement shown on that policy lab map. That means they're kind of missing out on that collaborative European framework for driving this type of innovation.
So they're a few steps behind in leveraging that EU network.
You could say that, yeah. It makes scaling up local solutions potentially harder.
Okay, but innovation is still happening on the ground.
Right.
What does that social innovation look like in these rural areas they studied?
Definitely. It's often very practical. Things like developing rural tourism initiatives, setting up basic computer literacy courses, really vital stuff, and creating electronic social innovations, maybe small online platforms or services.
And the key factor here, according to the authors, isn't just the tech itself.
Not at all. They really emphasize, and you see this reflected in their Figure 2 discussion, that the core element, the main actor, is the community, the people, the human resource.
Right. It's about changing attitudes from the ground up, a bottom-up approach.
Exactly. Using tech to support what the community already needs and wants, not just imposing it.
The article does mention a specific project, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The eCommunitate project.
Yes, eCommunitate. It was launched under the Ministry of ICT, aiming to connect communes online, improve interaction, that sort of thing.
And did it work? Were there successes?
There were. They used data, like in their Table 1, which shows the top 10 communities based on activity. The top one, Rakai, is a great example.
Rakai. What made them stand out? What were they doing?
Well, the interesting thing about Rakai was the breadth of their activity. It wasn't just one thing. They scored well across projects, education, business support, administration services, and culture.
They were a really holistic approach. They integrated it into many parts of community life.
Exactly. It shows that when it clicks, these digital tools can genuinely enhance various aspects of rural life, not just, say, paying a bill online.
But it's not all smooth sailing.
Yeah.
The authors are clear about the barriers, the constraints.
Oh, absolutely. They identify two major ones. First, the infrastructure, the lack of reliable, high-speed internet, plus the high costs of actually deploying it in remote areas. That's a huge hurdle.
The physical infrastructure.
Okay.
And the second barrier.
The human element. It comes back to people. A lack of skilled human resources, people who can use the tech, manage the systems, train others, and also a limited range of e-government services that are actually designed for rural needs and easy to use.
So even if you build a digital road, you need people who can drive on it and destinations worth driving to.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you listening to this? It seems the core message is that ICT, the technology, is definitely a powerful tool, an essential aid even for social innovation and development in these rural areas.
Hmm. Necessary, but not sufficient on its own.
Right. Because the human factor, the community, the skills, the engagement, that remains the absolute key. Finding that sweet spot, that balance between digital tools and traditional community strengths. That seems to be the recipe for success.
Absolutely. It's about blending the new with the existing fabric of the community.
So that leads us to our final thought for you today. Given that the authors found this 100% digital divide and stressed that the human element is the biggest challenge, what kind of specific bottom-up digital literacy program do you think would be most effective in bridging that gap in Romania's communes? Should it focus on skills for local tourism, maybe agriculture, or perhaps making local administration more accessible online? Something to think about. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Just a reminder, you can find a link to the article by Tirzy and Vrabey in the podcast description below if you want to read it yourself. Thanks for joining us. Please do like and subscribe to the Smart-EDU Hub channel so you don't miss our future discussions. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Stay smart with Smart-EDU Hub.